I want to tell you about a Peanuts character who got short shrift, who was kind of a big deal when he was introduced, but whose presence quickly diminished. But most of us still see him at least once a year. This is the story of a boy named Five. Time for another bold statement. Peanuts owns the holidays. Not just Christmas, but obviously Christmas.
What is it you want? Real estate.
You think Easter, you think of the Easter Beagle. You think Halloween, you think the Great Pumpkin, who we've proven conclusively is real. You think Thanksgiving, you think about Franklin being relegated to his own side of the table. You think Arbor Day, you think...
That's the day when all the ships come sailing into the arbor.
But it's easy to forget how early in Peanuts history these first few specials fell. A Charlie Brown Christmas was made in 1964. As a cultural force, Peanuts was still on the rise. That means no Peppermint Patty, or Marcy, no Franklin, no Woodstock. And it means it features characters who fell from prominence, like Violet, Shermie, and Patty Classic, who were featured in the very first strip. Pigpen. They'll remind me sometime to get into that time Peppermint Patty got fixed up with Pigpen, and they actually clicked. And it means these go-go dancing twins. Their names are, and stay with me here, 3 and 4, and their older brother named 5. Peanuts had a lot of one-joke characters who quickly faded and gradually disappeared, like half-Mexican, half-Swedish Jose Peterson, or Tapioca Pudding, whose dad was in licensing, or Frieda with her
naturally curly hair.
It's not Five's fault that in his case, the joke was 60 years out of date. Readers first met Five and his sisters 3 and 4 in 1963. His full name? 555-95472. As he explained it, his dad became completely hysterical one night and changed the entire family's names to numbers, with their zip code as their last name. When Lucy asked if that was his way of protesting, Five told her it was his way of giving in. A little context. Today, zip codes are so ingrained in our lives that we make TV shows about them. But zip codes weren't introduced until 1963 and were surprisingly controversial. Mr. 95472's views reflected Charles Schulz's, as he shared with Newsweek his frustration that the zip code had finally reached him. It should also be noted that 95472 was the zip code for Sebastopol, California, where the Schulz family lived at the time. So feel free to debate in the comments whether that means Peanuts takes place in Sebastopol or if they moved after the change. Also, don't be like Five's teacher and pronounce it incorrectly. The accent is on the 4, 95472. So, since Five was a character who had recently been introduced when they made a Charlie Brown Christmas, he was part of the special. But since Schulz hadn't developed his character beyond the name, he didn't have any lines. But he did have those sweet dance moves. In fact, he didn't have any lines through the next several specials. He finally spoke in He's Your Dog, Charlie Brown.
Hi, Lucy and Snoopy are having a fight!
And then went back to silently filling out crowd scenes until his next speaking role 15 years later.
I have a question. How does she do that?
Five only fared a little better in the strip. After his introduction, Five became just one of the kids in the neighborhood. Not prominent enough for his own stories, but just prominent enough to deliver the occasional punchline. He joined in dumping on Charlie Brown. He joined Schroeder in celebrating Beethoven's birthday. Sometimes he'd have his name on his shirt to remind you who he is. Most of the time, he would appear as part of the baseball team, or with his sisters in line for movies. Sometimes he'd be really in the background. I think this one is meant to be a pun on his name. And that's how it was until his last recorded appearance in 1983. He outlasted Shermie. Five's biggest moment in the cartoons actually came after his disappearance from the comics.
He just stands there. He looks like he's asleep.
You remember It's Flash Beagle, Charlie Brown, which was more 80s than drinking a cherry Coke and voting for Ronald Reagan. Five was all over this one. He even gets to lead a game of Simon Says.
Simon says, clap your hands.
Until Lucy horns in.
Okay, it's my turn now.
This is the morning after Snoopy's big night at the club with a bunch of hip teenagers. And 2 Franklins. He's wiped out, but he gets dragged to school by Sally for show and tell. But the first kid to show and tell is Five.
For show and tell, I brought my pet chameleon. His name is George. George eats flies and bugs. Thank you.
When Sally's turn comes, Snoopy is still dragging tail.
For show and tell today, I have brought a dog.
Until Five pulls out a boombox and it turns into a classroom dance party like a scene from Fame.
He's got rhythm popping all through his veins.
So things end on a high note, but let's not skip over this.
His name is George.
So they've given you a number and taken away your name, and they send you out into the world with that cross to bear. But the chameleon gets a name. You have a fake telephone prefix, but we call the lizard George. Still, I suppose there are worse ways their dad's middle-aged freakout could have manifested. 3 and 4 appeared again in animation in You're in Love, Charlie Brown, and made their last appearance in the strip in 1968. And that was it for them during Charles Schulz's life. The last special produced by Lee Mendelson was Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown, where the siblings made a cameo. In the modern era, the 95472 siblings are once again used mainly to fill out crowd scenes, or in random cameos. This rare speaking part for Five was the only time 3 and 4 have ever come close to speaking in animation.
Must be a pretty special flower.
You going?
Bring a plate of hamburgers.
So I'd ask, what's your favorite Five moment? But really, I just talked you through all the memorable ones. But I do want to hear from you. Scroll down there, drop a comment, and be sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. That's the best way to keep me bringing you these cartoon deep dives. And don't forget about the official Cynical Adult Watches Cartoons merch store, with new designs being added all the time, including the newest one in honor of our central character. Consider it literally the easiest Peanuts cosplay you could ever do.
It's the 80s, do a lot of coke and vote for Ronald Reagan.